Morning intuitives, you know, Friday after Thanksgiving. If you're gonna go crash a door today, why? But hey, do whatever you want to do. The topic I wanted to talk about today is a topic that is very, you know, close to me as a person, not just as an INFJ, but as an individual who happens to be an INFJ, and that is the INFJ's sense of bravery. So, the essence, I suppose, of bravery is courage is not the absence of fear, it's doing what one must do despite its presence. So, being able to confront fear and overcome it when the situation calls for it, I suppose, in a specific scenario. So, courage itself and bravery doesn't exist without apprehension because the absence of fear would leave no reason for there to be courage, like running into a burning building. It's not that unscary, but people, especially in my dream profession, do it, all the time. It's not something everybody's willing to do, but with the proper training and equipment, it is a apprehension that can fairly easily be overcome. So as INFJs, we are those who want to build our courage, much like one would build muscle. In other words, to become a person of courage, all one must do is a series of courageous deeds, getting yourself out of your comfort zone, confronting somebody in a position of authority that could easily retaliate against you, and doing it anyway for the benefit of others, speaking out against injustices, double standards, things of that nature, all very INFJ. So, the premise is that every personality type has something that is easy for us to be courageous about, but each type also has challenges to overcome when being brave. For INFJs, we seem to be, even though we're not the most outspoken people because we are introverts, we seem to be, really more inclined to speak out against social injustices, double standards, corruption, nepotism, cronyism, old boys clubs, things of that exploitation, things of that nature just piss us off. And it's made even worse when, we'll be the introvert in the room and we'll see some pretty outspoken extroverts that are just keeping quiet on such matters for their own benefits because they only care about themselves, looking out for number one. And, we'll reach a point, we'll look around and be like, oh, fuck, I gotta speak, okay, gotta be me. And then we'll, albeit reluctantly, take charge. Not that we are ones to, you know, be leaders in those kind of fights to end such things. We just don't like being the head person unless we can avoid it. And INFJ is like the, top leader of any movement is a little uncomfortable for us. We're just in general too introverted for it. We'd rather be the number two whispering in the number one's ear. Be able to stay behind the scenes at least part of the time. So it might, surprise some people that don't know much about INFJs that there was a poll done years ago. I read the article the other day where INFJs were asked if they consider themselves brave, and 59% said yes, which is, pretty good. This may seem pretty good, but it's fourth from the bottom of all the personality types. However, and there's a caveat to that too, is that we pride ourselves as INFJs so much on honor, integrity, and authenticity that those that, most likely responded that they do consider themselves brave have something to back that up, because we're not ones to be fake or to play a role. So, that's something. So INFJs are often portrayed as individuals who are quietly outspoken when it comes to matters of fairness and justice. I went through the whole list just a minute ago. And Nelson Mandela, great example of this. So there's factors other than our four personality or traits, i.e. cognitive functions, that can come into play before an INFJ finds courage in being brave. So environmental factors and upbringing are a big part of that. If you come from a family with a lot of military background, might have been raised to be a little braver than the average person. There's moral courage as well, and that's, your own conscience inside your head and things that you can't stand not to take action on. INFJs were big in that, even if we're afraid to speak up kind of thing, it would be like, well, how the fuck am I going to look myself in the mirror if I don't say something now? So I'm going to stand up and say something and let the chips fall where they may. This is a lot of times true in work. The ones that question management, usually INFJs, usually speaking for, at least a handful of other employees when we do it. I've been in that position more than a couple times where it never ends well. The boomer boss's reply is always essentially the same. Change bad, status quo good. It's all about me. Me, 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 me. Me boomer, me smart, me special. You know nothing. You born after 1964, you dumb. My high school diploma better than your college degree, me boomer. That's maybe an oversimplification, or maybe it's, direct quotes. How do you know you weren't there? So, examples of moral courage, always something that's important to us. We tend to seek that out in other people, not only for influence, but as INFJs, we're very selective in who we open up to and who we trust. So seeing a trait such as bravery and courage in another person will, make us more inclined to open up to them instead of, yeah, I'm good. What do you think? Just robot, like, I'm going to give you one word answers until you go away kind of thing. Even though, INFJs are big in the bravery and moral courage, we're not the most ambitious people, at least like financially or fame wise. Like, we want to cause change because we actually want the system to change. If an INFJ is speaking out on something that doesn't have the bravery to speak out and try to cause change, you're not doing it for the notoriety or the spotlight. An INFJ can, like I said before, be in a spotlight if it's for a purpose, if they feel that there's some good coming out of it, other than, an INFJ won't be in a spotlight to say, hey, look at me. They know the response will be, why are you looking at me? Like, here comes the imposter syndrome, that kind of thing. So our intuitive trait when it comes to bravery, our intuition helps us envision, better alternatives. Yay, idealism. Maybe. At times idealism is not fun. All right. So, secondary, our FE, our feeling trait, drives our compassion and empathy towards wanting to help people, towards wanting to cause change. And, our judging function, which gives us an appreciation for order and also can help us find inconsistencies in a system that we're trying to change. Throw these together, and that's our strong INFJ conviction that not only things can be better, that the changes we see not only will make things better, will also help people, and it'll be far more efficient. But sometimes people don't care because they're benefiting from the corrupt status quo. Our sense of right and wrong, of course, comes big into play with this. Everybody has that to a varying degree, except narcissists and sociopaths. Avoid them at all costs if you can. So, In the case of INFJs, our sense of right and wrong compels us to see everybody equally. We despise elitism, tribalism, things of that nature. You've heard me rant on about baby boomer supremacism, which I could probably talk about for 5 hours, and it would be funny yet redundant. So we're going to avoid that at least for now. So the idea of unfairness is, as we like consistency, unfairness is an inconsistency that goes against our judging tendencies and our sense of justice and fairness, and that's where our sense of bravery will likely kick in to try to change that. Often INFJs will describe their own courage that in the sense that their personality is an idealist, and as idealists, we may exaggerate the insufficiency of our courage because we perceive that we are not living up to the impossible standards that we set for ourselves, because that's part of being an idealist. I can be better, I can be better, I can be better, I'm not doing enough, things aren't changing fast enough. All or nothing. Incrementalism bad, incrementalism bad. Because incrementalism a lot of the time is just selling out for, I'd like to say half measures, but anymore it's quarter measures. Just ask President Obama, who is an ENFJ. And that's why he struggled to say no to Republicans, because ENFJs really struggle to say no. Yeah, it's my little politics reference for the day. I'm not going to trot out Slick Willie Clinton today, although there's a shit ton of material to work with there. So, when dealing with courage as an INFJ, remember that when you speak up, especially about social injustices, you're doing something that most people aren't going to do. Yes, you're always going to feel like you're not doing enough, but keep in mind, if you're the one in the room speaking up for somebody being exploited when nobody else is, you're already doing more than everybody else. And I know there's going to be times specifically for younger male INFJs trying to get justice for someone they're interested in romantically. Your knee-jerk reaction will be violence because, yeah, we have that INFJ rage thing, and there's certain things that, just send us off into righteous anger. And in certain situations, you're dealing with powerful people that the only thing that you have that they may fear is, physically attacking them. Usually doesn't solve anything, at least not in the long term. So just keep that in mind. I know that hothead mentality when you're 19 years old and you feel like a badass and you don't care who the person is. You're like, oh, they may be so-and-so and they may be powerful and wealthy, but I can take them. And that's all that matters, right? Yeah. So just keep that in mind, that that's not going to cause any lasting positive change in whatever you're trying to change. But the big thing I want to mention before I wrap this up about bravery and courage is having the bravery and the integrity to speak up on matters that people are trying to get you to keep quiet about. Like, I'm talking whistleblower things. My own story in the Arlington County Fire Department is an obvious example of that. If you truly are brave and you truly want to do the right thing, sometimes, and I know this firsthand, sometimes doing the right thing and having integrity is doing the right thing at your own detriment, meaning that you are going to face retaliation for doing the right thing. And yes, you're going to get change. That's going to take time, but you doing the right thing you are going to have to pay a price for that, at least in, I'm not going to say the short term because fuck, it's at least the medium term for me at this point. And you have to make that choice as to what is most important to you. Is that sense of doing the right thing and that sense of integrity so important to you that you are willing to sacrifice things like financial security or your dream job in order to do it? and that's something you have to decide for yourself and trust your intuition on. But in the end, I would assume you would regret the idea of selling out as INFJs. Our sense of bravery is tied with that death before dishonor notion. So just remember that the sense of bravery we have as INFJs, is very much drawn by integrity. And there's going to be times where you may not want to be the one who stands up and quote unquote, leads the charge for change or leads the charge for exposing the truth, but you're going to have the bravery to do so because you possess that unique sense of honor and integrity that compels that specific type of bravery. Just remember when you're doing it to trust your intuition of what to do and when, and don't sell out your integrity to protect yourself.